Hi everyone and welcome to tonight's Lean In. I'm Nicole Mosquito-Mendes, the SONA Vice President Membership and Engagement and your host for tonight. Tonight's Lean In is brought to you by SONA, the Student Organized Network for Architecture, and EmAGN, the Institute's Emerging Architects Graduate Network. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I would like to say a special thank you to Ashna Mittal, the University of New South Wales SONA representative. Ashna helped to connect and coordinate tonight's talk with her previous professor and will be joining us later to facilitate the question and answer session. Please use the chat box if you have any questions throughout the talk. I'm pleased to welcome tonight's speaker, Dr. Mohammed Farhan Fazi. Dr. Fazi is the founder of the Heritage Cell at the Agra Muslim University, also known as AMU, in India. Dr. Fazi is the Visiting Research Fellow of Oxford University with a specialization in architectural conservation and planning. He's involved in the restoration of unique cultural heritage on the AMU campus, which dates back to the 18th century. Dr. Fazi joins us tonight to provide us a better understanding of cultural heritage and will define the ancient use of arches. We will learn more about how the Heritage Cell works and how AMU is conserving its heritage structures and sensitizing its end users with hands-on training programs that adopt historic materials and construction techniques in their buildings. I'll now hand over to Dr. Fazi.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm thankful to this Australian Institute of Architects and SONA for organizing this particular talk on the heritage. So the topic of today's presentation is heritage, a showcase of cultural identity. I have mentioned here that heritage is a showcase of cultural identity. To start with, I request you all to please close your eyes for 5 seconds and just think about India. The first picture which appears in your mind is none other than the Taj Mahal, the most important heritage building of our country. Likewise, when the people sitting here from India, when they think about any other country like your country, Australia, the first picture which came in our mind is the Sydney Opera. Likewise, for China, we have the Great Wall, and for various other countries, we have their heritage, which immediately appears in our mind when we think about that country. Google the name of any city in the world. The first page which appears is none other than the heritage. Just have a look on this screenshot. We have Sydney Harbour, we have Bondi Beach, we have Sydney Opera or Sydney. For Paris, we have the Eiffel Tower, we have the Cathedral Notre Dame. Likewise, for London, we have the British Museum, the Tower of London, and when we think of any city in the world, the first slide in Google gives the heritage. This indicates that these cities are recognized by their heritage. So the first thing which came in our mind is what really is this heritage? Is it the historicity of these buildings which makes them heritage? If yes, then have a look on Dubai, Burj Al Arab, which was constructed in 1994, Burj Khalifa, it was built in 2004, but the Dubai is represented or recognized by these buildings. Likewise, have a look on this Hyder Aliyan Center in Baku by the great architect Zaha Hadid, the queen of curves. It was constructed in 2007, which means that the historicity has nothing to do with the heritage. The age of the building is a feature which is the part of heritage, but it's not the only part that is heritage. The question again arises that what heritage is. So the Oxford Dictionary clearly explains that the property that is or may be inherited is heritage, which means what we have and we can pass on to the next generation is our heritage. We can also understand it with the valued or important things, the things which are having values or significance associated to them. There are two major aspects of heritage. One is the tangible aspect of heritage, and the second one is the intangible aspect of heritage. The tangible aspect is what we can feel as well as what we can touch is the tangible aspect of heritage, or we can better understand it with the monuments, the buildings, the sculptures, the paintings. All this which we can touch is the tangible aspect of heritage, while the intangible aspect of heritage is the thing which we can only feel. It means which we cannot touch. That means, taking an example, a very simple example, that I am wearing this watch in my hand. This watch is gifted by my father when I was selected in Bachelor's of Architecture way back in 1990s. But this watch is a valuable thing to me because it has a very high associational significance to my father. So we can understand it in a better way that anything which has values or significance associated to them is termed as heritage. Those significance are the architectural significance, the historic significance, the associational significance, the use value of that particular thing. These are all combined together and makes the heritage. The intangible aspect of the heritage is which we can feel, like the singing, the folk art, the folk dance, all those things which we cannot touch is the intangible aspect of heritage. Here I am going to show you a video where in Turkey the whistling has been given the World Heritage nomination and was selected, and this whistling of the villages of Turkey is now a heritage. So this was a dying art which they tried to promote as heritage, and what they have done is they started teaching it in their schools. When we talk about the built heritage or the heritage of any city, the most important or the key element which we found in most of the buildings in different cities is an arch. Just have a look on this Colosseum, which everybody is familiar with, is having semicircular arches in Italy. And when we have a look on London, the British Museum or the British Palace, we have the semicircular arches in them. Likewise, in Paris, we have semicircular arch in Eiffel Tower. Hagia Sophia, which is now in limelight these days as a museum converted into a masjid in Istanbul, it's also having arches in them. Have a look on the various heritage buildings of Sydney, and in most of them we found different form of arches like the semicircular, the triangular, and so on. And when we have a look on the buildings of Agra here in India, all these buildings have the amalgamation of arches like in Buland Darwaza, in Etmadud-Daula, in Agra Fort, in Taj Mahal, and so on. So arch is one of the most important features in all these buildings. These arches are not only found in the heritage buildings of the cities, but they are also found in the heritage universities. Like we have the arches in the University of Virginia, USA. We have the arches in the University of Coimbra, Portugal. We have arches in Bath, UK, in the Heritage University of Cambridge, and the Heritage University of Oxford. These universities are very old, established in 10th century, and they have the amalgamation of different form of arches. Likewise, these universities, we have Aligarh Muslim University here in India, which was established in 1877 at Aligarh. The founder of this particular university was very much influenced by the British education system, and to understand the functioning of these universities, he went to England in 1869. He stayed there for 17 long months, and after returning from England, he has established a college here in 1877 known as Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College. And in one of his articles, he mentioned that we aim to turn this MO college into a university similar to that of Oxford and Cambridge. What he really means, similar to Oxford and Cambridge, was the education system, the grand buildings of these heritage universities, the respect for nature for in these universities, and he has transformed his vision into reality in the buildings of Aligarh Muslim University. Just have a look on these pictures. Here on the right, we have the Magdalen College of Oxford, and we have the Mumtaz boarding house of Aligarh Muslim University. What the respect for nature these two universities have. The lush green lawns in the Trinity College of Oxford, and similarly we have at Aligarh Muslim University. Have a look on this series of palm trees creating a vista in front of the stretchy hall in Sir Syed Hall at Aligarh Muslim University, and is giving a similar look in the Trinity College of Oxford. This is another important aspect of heritage which Sir Syed has incorporated here at Aligarh, is the grand scale of the building. The Victoria Gate and the Christ Church College is giving a very similar look. This Bodleian Library is one among the renowned libraries of the world, is having the pitched as the Stretchy Hall here in Aligarh Muslim University. Look at the Magdalen College of Oxford. It's so similar to Sir Syed Hall. When I was roaming around these buildings in Oxford, it seems to me that I was moving in Aligarh Muslim University. The grand scale of All Soul College and the central wing of Sir Syed Hall. Look at the massing, the scale, the proportions of these buildings. The Christ Church Chapel in Oxford University, and the Jama Masjid of AMU. Another important feature of both the universities, with maintained central lawns, proper courtyard planning, which gives proper light and ventilation to the buildings. Have a look on Jesus College and Aftab Hall. The intricate ornamentation in both the universities in there, here in Christchurch Chapel and in the Jama Masjid of Aligarh Muslim University. The Sheldonian Theatre, which is one among the most famous theatres of the world. The balance and proportions in the building, the symmetry, the rhythm, not only the principles of architecture have been incorporated, but the elements are also incorporated in the buildings of Aligarh Muslim University, inspired by these heritage university. Have a look on the arches in the Magdalene College and in Babir Rahmat, the semicircular arches of Magdalene College, as well as in the Students' Union Hall, a series of arcades. The pointed arch, the multifoil arch in the Pembroke College. It's very similar to the grave of Sir Syed, where they have used multifoil arch in the courtyard of Jama Masjid in Aligarh Muslim University. Look at this semicircular arch. The two arches are so similar that we cannot identify it by removing their names, that in which university we are, in AMU or in Oxford. Look at the four-centered arch in the new college, the pseudo four-centered arch in Magdalene College, and in Old Boys Lodge of Aligarh Muslim University. I have identified 20 arches in Aligarh Muslim University from among the 35 type of arches found worldwide. So this university is the amalgamation of beautiful arches in the buildings, in its monuments, and my book on arches is there, and its link is with the organization that they have been sharing you later. Look at some other features like the boundary wall in both the universities, the ornamental posts, which are the unique features of these heritage universities, the heritage plaques, but after more than 100 years, the buildings which were developed here in Aligarh Muslim University, due to their aging and weathering, they were getting deteriorated. So the Aligarh Muslim University has established a heritage cell in 2013, and we are the only university in India with our own heritage cell for the restoration of heritage buildings of the campus. We have done restoration of several buildings here in Aligarh. This is one among the first buildings which we have restored here at Aligarh Muslim University. The Jama Masjid of Aligarh Muslim University, which is located in the central wing of Sir Syed Hall, along with the other buildings like the Stretchy Hall, the Nizam Museum, the Lytton Library, and this Jama Masjid is at the farthest or at the western end in the central wing of Sir Syed Hall. This mosque was started by Sayyid Mahmud, the son of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, who was the founder of Aligarh Muslim University, in 1879, and it was completed and opened for prayer in 1915. Just have a look on the grand scale of this mosque with the majestic minarets, the onion-shaped huge domes, the calligraphic inscription on the central pishtak, and many more features. These are the single piece screens of sandstone which were carved and used in this monument. A number of arches ranging from semicircular to segmental, trefoil, four-centered, multifoil. Many type of arches we can find in this particular mosque. These are some more features in the exterior of the mosque, like the calligraphic inscription, the detailed carving on the stones, the inlay work. In the interiors of the mosque, we can find the golden imitation, the calligraphic inscriptions, and the Araish lime plaster. This is a unique type of plaster, lime plaster, which was evolved here in India, which gives a feel of marble, and it was used in place of marble in several heritage buildings. This lime plaster, the ingredients which were used in this particular lime plaster are the seashell, the crushed eggshells, the egg white, curd, and so many ingredients were used in this Araish plaster. And when we rub this plaster with the coconut oil, it gives a glaze. These were the threads to the building when we have started this project way back in 2016. The Araish plaster was blackening up. It was falling down from various portions from the ceiling of the masjid, and We also found some minor structural cracks in the building. This calligraphic inscription was fading out. We can see the dampness here. The arch plaster was coming out. This, you can see the improper placement of services, electrical services here. These were the additions in the building in later period. The golden imitation got blackened in 100 years. In the exterior of the masjid, these minarets, you can have a look. The balconies of these minarets, their stone has fallen down. Vegetation growth was there. The doors were painted white. These are beautiful doors which were painted in later edition, and they have a look on this inlay work. What the people have done in the later edition is, when this jasper stone which was inlaid in the white marble has fallen down, they have incorporated cement in place of this jasper. This is the chipping of or splitting of a stone. So we have analyzed the building before starting the restoration work. What we felt was that we can simply remove this paint and we can get the arch plaster below it. But the restoration process is not as easy as we think. We find various things coming out when we start the restoration. This, in the later editions, the university has removed the arch plaster from the bottom till 4 feet, and they have incorporated cement plaster instead of that lime plaster. And I will show you the result, what was happening later on. So we have analyzed the cleaning process. We have used several neutral chemicals with ammonia, their percentage to understand the results of cleaning. Then we found that this blackened golden imitation, when we started redoing it, it was giving a thickness of around 1 mm, and which we can feel. So it was decided to remove the whole golden imitation, clean the facade, and to do it again. These were the results of the sample cleaning which were done initially. So we can have a look on the uncleaned surface and the arch plaster after cleaning. It was giving a beautiful glaze, as if we are painting anything. Just have a look on this picture. We can find the mirror image of this ceiling in this wall. So such beautiful glaze is there, still there after more than 100 years of age of this building. And we simply cleaned it with ammonia, libelline, and water. Just have a look on the progress of work. When we have taken, this was the condition of the masjid. We have removed the cement plaster from it, and finally we have done the plastic wood over here so that the moisture cannot rise up. What was happening is earlier they have done this green paint above that cement plaster. So every year they painted the whole surface and this surface became non-porous. So when the moisture rises from the ground, it was not getting space to evaporate and it was coming out from above these 4 feet and it was deteriorating the plaster above these 4 feet. I will show you. This is the central dome of the masjid. The squinches were in a very bad shape. They have used number of colors in the previous interventions and we have removed all those colors. The lime plaster was flaking. We have consolidated this lime plaster and then finally this was the outcome. This was the jack arch roof. We have removed all the paint, then consolidated the ceiling, and then finally these people from different part of the country like Ajmer, Jaipur, they came here and they worked for it. Just have a look on the teak wood doors. They were beautiful doors of teak wood and they have painted it in white and every year they were coating it. We have removed the paint. This assembly was opened up and we have finally cleaned it up and done the polishing over it. All the golden imitation was removed from the Arish plaster and it was redone just because it was blackened. This was the ceiling which was painted blue in the later editions. All the paint was removed, it was consolidated and this is the final outcome. The Vice Chancellor, Lieutenant Zamiruddin Shah, who was there till 2017 in this university, he has taken a keen interest and visited the site several times and follow up the process of restoration. We have done several exhibitions of this restoration work and the chairman of Aga Khan Foundation, India, visited the site to have a look on the restoration of this monument. Just have a look on the final outcome of this restoration process. This is the main entrance of the masjid. We have removed all the paint which was later done and such beautiful multifoil arches came into existence. Another picture of the exposed brickwork which was painted in the previous interventions. We have removed the paint from the doors. It was 5 mm thick paint on the doors. So the carving, the ornamentation in the doors was not visible and we have then polished them and got this look. This is another on the eastern side of the courtyard in the masjid. This building was painted white. Just have a look on the northern portion of the central courtyard in the mosque. These two buildings which were exposed brick were painted, and this central portion was having red sandstone, so they have left this portion from the front, but from the inside they have painted it. Even the stones were painted. So we have removed this paint from the stones, and this original picture came into existence. This is the grave of Sir Sayyid which they have painted earlier. So we have removed the stone painting and got the original red sandstone. This is the front facade of the building. Just have a look on the algal growth here in the facade, and we have removed all the algal and biological growth, and then a coating of water repellent is being done, and after 5 years we are getting such clean facade which is still not having any algal growth on it. This is on the southern side of the courtyard where these arches were painted white. So we have removed all the paint and got the beautiful arches in the courtyard of the masjid. We have consolidated the stone on the height of 55 feet in the minarets, cleaned the minarets, and removed all the vegetation from them. This, which I was discussing earlier, they have incorporated the cement in between the black jasper which was inlaid. So we have removed all the cement from this inlay work and we have inlaid the jasper again. It was really a very tedious task to prepare such short, minute details of these jasper and then to inlay in the white marble. The side doors which were painted earlier and we have polished them, such a beautiful look on the doors. In the interiors, just have a look on the work before and after. Interiors of the mosque. This I was talking about, that this plaster was getting out just because of this paint which was done below it. So we have removed all this and we have placed the plastic wood over here so that the water can or the moisture can be removed from this place only, and the whole arch plaster was redone here. It was a very tedious task to find these artisans of lime plaster because they are not easily available. There is a very short, or we can say there are very few artisans of this lime plaster which are there now. So it took me 6 months to arrange the people to work on this lime arch plaster and give them masjid this original look. Just have a look on the dark squinches over here, and after the restoration work we got ample of light from this domical ceiling. This is the central portion of the mosque. This whole ornamentation was redone. the calligraphic inscription, the golden imitation. They have prepared the slides of each and every corner of the building, and then they have placed the same pattern on these arch plaster again. Another picture of the interiors before and after. This is the picture of a squinch in the central dome. Close picture of it before and after, and then the central dome. This domical ceiling took us around 4 months to remove all the previous intervention, then to consolidate the ceiling and then redo it. And this electrical services, when we removed these wirings and these panels from here, the whole plaster came up, and this corner was totally redone in a similar manner, with the ornamentation, with the detailing in the lime arch plaster. It's a very interesting quote by the founder of the institution, that nothing is more disgraceful for any nation than to throw into the oblivion its historical heritage and the work of its ancestors. So this Aligarh Muslim University is trying to restore the heritage of our university, and not only we are restoring the heritage of our university, but we are trying our level best to let the people understand about the significance and importance of these buildings, and to let them understand the traditional materials and techniques which were used in the earlier period. So this heritage cell is doing several workshops and training programs in this university as well as in other universities of the country. Just have a quick look what we are working in and how we are doing this. These are arch plaster panels. The students are doing the calligraphy work on these panels. These are brick jalis or screens. This is the dome which we have developed without shuttering. Just have a look on the arch without lime mortar which we have developed here to understand the external forces which act on these arches. No mortar is there in this particular arch. Standing with the arch action. Standing without mortar. As we remove these bricks, how it falls, have a look. So we organize such kind of workshops and training programs here in our university as well as in various other universities to let the people aware from the traditional materials and techniques which were used from the past. This is all about from my side. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Fazli, for an amazing, amazing presentation. I'm just trying to get my video on. Oh no, I can't. Yeah, so I guess I can't switch my video on, but yeah, it was an amazing presentation. I guess we all the people in this room would have felt so inspired from so many things. Like, I mean, if I have to talk about it, it prompted me to think about heritage both as a tangible and a non-tangible element, and how the idea of global village is not, you know, new, and it has been there for ages, and how we can see the familiarity of elements. So yeah, I mean, it was an amazing presentation, and I guess we are sort of running out of time, but anyways, your presentation was so good. We were like, okay, we can keep on going with on and just know more about your perceptions of heritage. So we have got a couple of questions here, and we have got loads of questions from the people who signed up for this program. So let me get started with the questions quickly. So there's a question by Jesse, and he's asking, are the multifoil and the similar arches purely just ornamentation, or do they also provide some structural benefits?
Arches, when they were developed initially in the Roman period, they were purely used for the structural purposes, just because at that moment there was no RCC. So for spanning the entrance, the grand entrance, they required the arches at that time. But in the buildings of today's today we can use arches for ornamentation also. So it was initiated as a structural element, but now it is being used as an aesthetic element too.
Okay. Moving on to the next question quickly. There are loads of questions. So as you were telling, like how the restoration process is almost like a mystery that you're solving. So were there any particular challenges that you found during the restoration process, or you discovered something, and if you can share some light on that?
Yeah, there are a lot of challenges actually in the restoration process, because we don't know anything which came out later at a later stage. Like in a construction site, we know that we have to simply construct a new building with these materials. But in a heritage site, we don't know that what is inside of the story. So sometimes we get into some structural problems in the buildings. Sometimes we get into some kind of like, as here I have mentioned that it was a cement plaster which was done in the earlier intervention. And we were thinking that we simply remove the paint and we can get the arch plaster below it. So then we have to remove the whole plaster, and then the process was really very tedious. Another aspect is the financial constraints with the heritage sites too. So they are also the main concerns for these heritage sites.
What sort of financial constraints do you think come with heritage buildings, like with this scale and stuff like that?
Like in India, we have most of the heritage buildings are there in the government possession, or they are with the royal people. So for the buildings which are with the government, they have to be taken care as a project, and then the funds were to be sanctioned, and a lot of political affairs got into them. So it's very tricky to work actually in the field of restoration.
Yeah, I can see through the process. It is quite something. And I mean, I'm really inspired by the way you have been setting an example of, learning by doing. So like, I think it's more of my question as well. So when are you going to organize the next hands-on workshop, or how the people in Australia who are sitting here can benefit from these kind of workshops? Because I guess jalis and all those things, these things are timeless.
It's a very good question actually from your side, because most of the students, when they work in the hands-on training, they get a feel of actually working. So we do such kind of trainings every year in this university, and it's there on my website, so you can share also that link to the people.
Yeah.
And we do such workshops not only here in AMU, but also in other universities here in India. Maybe we can organize one for your students too?
Yeah,
They're
wow.
in Austin.
It would be great to see something virtually coming as well. So yeah. There's another question from Jesse. So why are there some spaces which are inset arches? Example, arches which go nowhere but carve out a space in a wall. What is their purpose? How do people use them? There's an official name, but I can't remember it. Okay, so yeah, that's what he's saying.
Yeah. Ashna, these are basically the niches or the false arches, which don't have the structural use in them, but they are just for the aesthetic purpose. Uh, that there are series of arches in some place, and we have to give it a feel of harmony, so we can place those false arches with them.
Okay. I think those arches were in a mosque, and is there a particular reason why it's there in a mosque?
They are basically niches used in the front, and in the central niche we used to have imam stand over there for prayer.
Okay. So I guess as we are moving along with time, we are sort of reaching to the close of the session today. So Madeline has shared the link for the Arches in the chat. The Arches book that has been written by Dr. Fazli, and yeah, everyone can have a look if they want to get it. Just go ahead with it, and I'll invite Nicole to take over from here.
Thank you, Ashna, and thank you, Dr. Fazli, and thank you all for joining us tonight. We hope that you will join us again next week at 6 p.m. for another Lean In. In this Lean In, Hugh Kahns, author of The Imposter Syndrome, will join us to explore why so many clever, competent, and capable people often doubt their abilities and find it hard to enjoy their successes. We will learn about the latest psychological research and what it tells us about imposter syndrome and how it operates with strategies to overcome it. You can register for the link for this talk with the link in the chat. I look forward to seeing you all there, and have a great evening.
Thank you, Nicole.